Welcome back, everybody. This is Eric and Chad here with Iraq Veteran 8888. Today we've got another gun gripe episode for you. This one is a doozy, and we are sort of going down the rabbit hole a little further when it comes to some of the things that are going on in the Second Amendment community. We're so used to all the anti-gun stuff getting shoved down our throat now that the Republicans aren't in control of the ship anymore. We know how beneficial that was to us when they were in control of the ship. Yeah, we see all of the wonderful things that we've reaped and sown from that situation, don't we? Yeah, nothing. Look,
pocket.
See this field?
Let's see.
This right here, this is a giant field, and this is where all the achievements have grown. Notice it's barren. I definitely want to take a moment to thank SDI for allowing us to put these videos out raw, unfiltered, unadulterated, and in your face, all right? They got some great gunsmithing programs. Check them out if you're interested in higher education when it comes to gunsmithing, reloading, any of those fields. SDI, great bunch of people, and I want to thank them for supporting Gun Gripes. All right, so let's talk about this a little bit.
It's about the president. I like the president.
I know you do. All right, so this comes, let's see, this is dated April 23rd out of Austin, Texas. It says, last week, a Texas House committee unanimously passed a bill that would decriminalize firearms sound suppressors under state law and end state enforcement of federal laws regulating them in the state. Representative Tom Oliverson, an R out of Houston,
an R,
along with a bipartisan coalition of three co-sponsors, introduced House Bill 2286 on February 25th. Under the proposed law, state agencies could not adopt any rule, order, ordinance, or policy to enforce a federal statute, order, rule, or regulation that purports to regulate a firearm suppressor that does not exist under the laws
of the state.
The laws of the state. That's a typo.
It is.
It would also repeal a provision of state law making it an offense to possess, manufacture, transport, repair, or sell a firearm suppressor unless it is registered by the the National Firearms Registration and Transfer Record.
Whatever all that is.
Whatever all that means.
Bye.
You know, we did a video not too long ago, and I don't know what order these videos are coming up, but we have another video about the stuff going on in Missouri. All right, and we'll just briefly touch on that because I think the two are related. So in Missouri, they've got this bill, Senate Bill 367, and 367 aims to turn Missouri into a Second Amendment sanctuary state, where basically all federal gun regulations are null and void and can't be enforced in the state. At least not at the help of the state resources. So I think that with this that's going on in Texas with 2286, you're running into a very similar thing. They're trying to say, look, suppressors within the confines of our state are not going to be subject to any bullcrap.
You know, this kind of mirrors what was going on in Kansas a little while back that we touched on, which there's not really any current update to our knowledge on the Kettler case out of Kansas. If you guys haven't seen the video that we did on that, you can go back and check it out. It'll be in the description box below, as well as a link to the article from GOA. This is pretty interesting because, all right, so suppressors simply muffle the sound of a gun. They do not literally silence firearms. Nevertheless, the federal government heavily regulates silencers under the National Firearms Act. The feds charge $200 tax on the purchase of the devices. Buying one also requires a months-long wait after filing extensive paperwork with the Federal Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives.
First of all, I don't know where they got their information from, but it ain't a month.
No, months.
Like,
months
long.
Oh,
months. Okay,
long.
Yeah, that plural.
See, look,
That's a big difference there.
It's funny. Eric's brain is kind of off in La La Land. He's thinking about Beetlejuice because I was talking about Beetlejuice. Is this on Netflix? And we watched it the other night. It was like, hey, come here. I love Michael Keaton so much, but now he's got Beetlejuice on the brain. All right, so as we've seen with, let's see, the repeal of state suppressor restrictions in Texas would not alter federal law, of course, nor would it end federal enforcement, but it would remove a layer of law hindering access to these harmless devices. The widespread easing of suppressor regulation would subtly undermine federal efforts to unconstitutionally regulate firearms. As Texas activist Tom Glass put it, quote, "It would not stop feds from attempting to enforce, but at least it would get a Texas law right," end quote. As we've seen with marijuana and industrial hemp, a federal regulation becomes ineffective when states ignore it and pass laws encouraging the prohibited activity, or when the state decriminalizes and people start ignoring the federal prohibition without any further state permission to do so. States' rights, we've said it before, states' rights are very, very important, and they are essential to this republic working properly. If it was up to the federal government to control everything, that'd be a big problem.
Yep.
Big problem. States' rights are very, very important.
Says, either way, the federal government lacks the enforcement power necessary to maintain its ban in such a climate, and people will increasingly take on the risk of federal sanctions if they know the state will not interfere. This increases when the state actively encourages the market. Mm-hmm. Less restrictive gun state laws, such as HB 2286, can have a similar impact on federal gun laws. It will make it that much more difficult for the feds to enforce federal gun control, should the people defy it, and they should, and increase the likelihood that states with few limits will simply refuse to cooperate with future federal enforcement efforts.
It's called peaceful noncompliance.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing. So what you could really see with this is you could see, going to a gun show in Texas and purchasing a suppressor made in Texas. And now, something that is very similar that's going on with this right now is the Kettler case. And you guys really need to follow Jeremy Kettler. He's a veteran and a good person, not a criminal, not a bad person, but, he was prosecuted for buying, he's prosecuted by the feds for buying a suppressor within his state, where state law, which I think it was Kansas?
It was Kansas.
Kansas state law says that you can buy, own, and make your own, literally make your own suppressors in Kansas.
Within the boundaries of the state.
Right. And he bought a suppressor at a gun show in Texas and, got in trouble. There's this whole thing that's going on around right now. The feds are trying to prosecute him, and GOA is fighting it really hard. And I think you guys should go over to the website and read up on the Kettler case. I don't have the information in front of me, but I have talked to Jeremy personally. I've talked to Eric Pratt personally. I've talked to the guys at GOA, and they're fighting tooth and nail for Jeremy. And if this case goes,
it's supposed to go to the Supreme Court, but the Supreme Court road is very long.
It is.
So,
but if the Kettler case goes to the Supreme Court and they find that Jeremy did no wrong because he wasn't breaking any state laws and he was in the confines of his state, it's going to prove a very strong states' rights case, and it's also going to prove that when things like what are happening in Texas and Missouri and Kansas and all of these states that are just saying we're going to ignore federal gun laws, that when those things happen, they can't be enforced.
And if the Supreme Court determines that Congress is taxing a right, then that in itself is unconstitutional, and then it basically makes the NFA null and void, and that's the end goal with this case in its entirety.
And we really hope that it's going to go places. We donate to Gun Owners of America every month. We all do our part as best we can. I would strongly recommend, if you have the means, to support Jeremy, because someone who served his country and is going through some really tough times right now. I'm sure it's affecting his family, and he's getting all this press from it. And obviously he was detained and I guess arrested over it. So it's not a fun thing to deal with, and it's important that all of his countrymen know that we back him and we support him, and that we want to see him be successful and succeed in this endeavor. So it's outside of the bounds of 2286 that we're talking about in this video, but the two are related. So make sure you go to the link in the description box below. Check out the article on 2286 that we just talked about in Texas, which is a great move, guys. I'm glad to see Texas doing the right thing there. But then also research the Kettler case, and we'll also include a link to the stuff in Missouri we talked about as well. That way, in case you're not up to speed, you can read up on all this stuff for yourself. So,
indeed.
So what do you think? I mean, you think that maybe in the next 10 years we'll see that like a certain amount of red states within the United States will adopt all of this in very similar fashion, and that it's going to just completely undermine federal gun control?
I mean, possibly. I mean, anything's possible, but it takes grassroots support for that, and the support of local state organizations that actually fight for your rights, like Gun Owners of America, Firearms Policy Coalition, fighting these things on a court level. and on the basis of these laws' unconstitutionality. That's the biggest thing.
Yep.
But man, there's really no telling what the future might hold for this. It's just we got to keep pressing forward and just do the best we can.
We have to, and we have to constantly fight for our rights at every turn. I mean, no matter what goes on. Yeah, I mean, we're always on the defensive. We're never hardly on the offensive as a group of people. We're always having to try to defend ourselves against all the things that people say and do to folks in the gun world and everything like that. And it's bad because you've got the Democrats in control of the House now. Ooh. And of course they want to act like they're doing something, and of course they're going to attack your rights left and right all the time. And we're always having to fight that. Even if what they're doing has no real clout or real political authority or political clout, it doesn't matter. It's the make-believe that they're putting into their constituents' minds that they're actually getting somewhere with it, and it just drives people nuts. They can't handle it. It's rare that the gun world is actually on the offensive. I mean, we had all these years of a Republican-controlled House and Senate presidency. Where are all the pro-gun bills? I've asked it over and over and over again. Where were the people like the NRA pushing these people, pushing what are supposed to be their constituents and the people they support to actually make good on their word of the things that they said they were going to do? Hearing Protection Act, National Carry Reciprocity, all of these unconstitutionalities that we have to consider amongst NFA and all of this gray area stuff, the bump stock ban. I mean, all of these things. Why are we having to deal with this? You have to ask yourself, who is really fighting for you? Who really cares about your rights as an individual, as a person living in this country? It's all of us. It's the people. The people are the one that ultimately have to protect and defend their own way of life, their own livelihood, their own rights. You can't rely on any one person, that camp, this camp, left, right, Republican, Democrat. All of that's irrelevant. Because I think it's safe to say now that it's all just different sides of the same boot, trying to crush your throat. That's all it is.
Hey, I know somebody who cares. AOC cares.
Oh, don't even get me started. If I have to hear that woman talk, one more time, I'm going to cut my belly open, pull my guts out, and hang myself by my own entrails. Guys, thanks for watching today's video.
On that note,
bye. We'll be seeing you guys later. I definitely want to take a moment to thank all of our viewers. You guys are great. Thank you so much for engaging with our content. Thank you, all of our Patreon supporters. You guys are awesome. All of the folks who purchase man cans on the channel to help support us, thank you very much. If you purchase shirts, such as the one he's wearing, or other merchandise over on the website, all of those funds go right back into supporting the channel. Guys, thank you so much for seeing value in what we do. Thank you so much for supporting us. Have a great day. We'll see you next time.
See you guys.